Hello, everybody. This session was initially going to be led by Gabe Baker, who is the founder and product manager of Frame. But because of some personal commitments, he had to, at the last moment, step out. So I will be taking over this presentation. All right. I'm actually going to carry forward what Eric was mentioning about how this is a concept. Immersiveness is a concept that is now adding another dimension to education. Education by itself has always been a very strong vertical of all different industries, and there have been many transformations over the years that have helped educators and trainers train better or educate better. And one of those tools in the recent times that has come up is uh, the immersiveness of technology. Now, Frame is one of those tools. There's a few others out there. You can, of course, go in and check that. What Frame provides is something that I'm going to sort of confirm throughout this presentation. But specifically, by the base of it, Frame is a browser-based collaboration tool. Now, being browser-based brings a list of pros and cons to the platform. Pros specifically being that it's highly accessible. It's accessible cross-device because any device that supports browsers can support the Frame ecosystem. It's accessible as in it does not have it does not have multiple onboarding steps. The onboarding steps are quite simple, clear. It's accessible via URL, and you can, of course, share that URL to bring. The third thing that you can do with Frame specifically is the ability to build multiple worlds and then interconnect them, eventually creating an ecosystem. And I'm going to run through a few use cases that specifically mention these ecosystems that educators and even the admin staff have been building within Frame. Why does this platform help? Like I mentioned, the first thing is the fact that it is an onboarding-less platform, which works wonderfully well for students and especially global teams and global classes that are being conducted across continents. The second advantage to using Frame, of course, as a platform is that you can customize it with a lot of different content types. And I'm going to run through those content types in a bit. These content types help service different kinds of courses and different kinds of sessions that you plan within Frame. And of course, there's a few others. Yeah, there you go. Another aspect that works well for Frame is the spatialization of it. It tries to mimic the real world. And of course, you can pick through multiple environments. They're different that we already provide as a platform, but there's, of course, the ability for educators to create their own worlds and bring them into this ecosystem. Now, what's one thing that might be a sort of a hindrance is the ability to conduct very large scale sessions, because collaborating in a 3D space that is based on a browser that allows for mobile and all other device specific accesses has this slight limitation wherein you may not be able to host a session for thousands of people. But of course, the closed sessions, the immersive sessions that you might want to for more small class sizes, I think a platform like this or any other 3D collaboration platform can add a lot of value to that particular session that you're teaching. Now, like I mentioned, you, of course, you can connect across using different devices, and that's helpful because a lot of times when you're working with students, not everyone may have access to a laptop device. Even if that particular moment they don't, they might not at another hour. There's, of course, the collaborativeness of it works in the 3D ecosystem because the content that you bring into spaces like these is usually perpetual, which means it's a one-time setup. There is a one-time investment of time and effort wherein you have to build the classroom, kind of like you would build a physical classroom with notice boards and content around it. Similar to that, building a 3D classroom takes effort, but it's a one-time setup. Once you have that setup ready, that particular class or that particular, in this case, that particular frame that you've created can be reused and reclamated for students. And I think it's important to also keep in mind the amount of effort that educators have to make to build this space, of course, to provide the experience for students to sort of settle that for students, but it's also important to keep in mind the amount of effort that educators and trainers have to take. The ability to take presentations 3D is another great advantage of the immersive ecosystem, because and I'm not taking into consideration the fact that headsets will soon become they'll be highly adopted and everyone will be able to access 3D systems. Maybe not, maybe that's a slow growth curve, but even today, if you're using a 2D platform like a laptop or a mobile device, you can still in that space see the 360 around you. I think that's a very that's a game changer in terms of specifically some course types that we'll talk about. It's a game changer for them. Now, in most cases, the educators that I have worked with mostly use very limited content types in bringing these or creating these classroom spaces. But the ability to support multiple of them is quite helpful, because uh, and of course, please feel free to let me know your views on this. The most of the times we see educators using video resources and image resources and other external web links to create that classroom or create that content repository. Now, this is not just an immersive experience is great. It's something that students love, they enjoy. But from a lasting standpoint, to create a classroom that provides value or continues providing value throughout your semester or throughout your course duration requires a lot of content that is to be uploaded that students can refer to. So reference material, the ability to support or embed that reference material inside a 3D classroom adds another dimension to learning, because immersive learning, excellent, it's great. Students come in and they're exposed to a lot of 3D content, but this content repository also provides them with informative content. It also refers them to web links that they can support. It also provides them quizzes that they can go in and participate in. So having this one space where you have live curriculum, of course, but you also have a lot of different content types that students can learn from, asynchronous or synchronous. I think that's one thing that the immersive ecosystem provides to students, to be able to, during class, of course, learn, during class, participate in real-time collaborative things like active polls that you're running, but also after class, be able to come back to your virtual classroom and be able to refer to all the content that was maybe shared during class or it added after the class. If there is a certain course or certain lesson that is being taught, reference material can also be brought to it. I want to run through a few use cases that I have seen. The use cases here are going to be slightly frame centric, but I'm going to try and tie it together with the entire business of education, because there's a lot of elements that go into this entire industry. And since I was myself a part of the administrative team, there's another vertical to it that I would like to sort of bring forward that that adds more than learning and virtual classroom. But virtual classrooms are, of course, one of the primary use cases of immersive spaces. You are able to, like I mentioned, asynchronous or synchronous, being able to create an area where you can have live presentations and live showcases is a great use case of immersive platforms. Another use case is hosting student showcases. Now, student showcases, it's a great way to motivate students to create content that can be supported in 3D ecosystems, which actually is it pushes students to further their own learning and their own understanding of the concept, because we are able to support and showcase a lot of what they're building. So student showcases and student portfolios even have been a very sort of up and coming use case, wherein students have started creating their own 3D resumes and their own 3D showcases or portfolios. And since it's perpetual, the content they're setting up is perpetual, they actually start quite early and they start showcasing their work, and they're using that as a way to showcase what they've been learning or what they've been doing. Custom worlds, this is a very, very unique use case that I'm actually going to show within frame, but a lot of educators have actually started building their own ecosystems or their own worlds and bringing them into frame. For instance, if there's a lesson that you want to teach about geography, you can bring a 360 image and actually teleport your students there. If there's a lesson that you're teaching about bushfires in Australia, you can actually bring in or create a 3D model that shows how the safety and security and post disaster management happens. So that bringing your lessons out of a notebook into a 3D world is a great use case of 3D platforms. Um, and of course, student competitions are also, this is a new and unique use case of frame, but we've seen because this opens up geographically, people can participate from across the world. They can bring in their 3D plat. This is actually an actual use case that I'm going to walk you guys through. But hosting student competitions within frame is also a great way. In this particular use case, this competition was actually streamed to the parents as well. So the parents were able to see in a separate platform, they were able to see how their students or how their children were participating. There is a frame that I personally maintain that enlists some of these interesting use cases that I've been talking about. I'll be happy to link you guys to it. This is actually a single user frame, so you can go in and explore all the different use cases right here. And I'm going to also walk you through some use cases that I currently have listed. Now, remember I was talking about there is, of course, a way to use frame for direct classroom and one-to-many delivery, but there's also a few other interesting ways in which we've seen them use frame, and I'm going to walk you through one of those use cases. There was a 150-year celebration that happened. Now, this is not direct sort of classroom related, but I wanted to showcase just the spectrum of how these platforms can be used. A university built a frame wherein they were able to, this frame or this immersive experience was actually directed at alumni of their university, wherein they brought the 150th year celebration of one of their departments into immersive setups. And a very interesting thing that they did was this particular bookcase that you see right now. This is an actual bookcase that is present in their department. That's an iconic piece that people have been looking at for years. And what this team did was they created a 3D model of it, this actual physical book, and brought it into frame. Now, the idea to do that, the thought that they had in mind was relatability. They wanted the alumni who've been going through that department for years to be able to have some element of sort of familiarity. And that is the intention. Even this couch is actually an actual couch in that department. And they created a 3D model of it using an iPhone and brought it into this. Now, this is how you merge these two worlds, the real world and the immersive world, by small little elements like these that add to the experience that you want to build. Now, this of course, the concept of interconnected frames that I was mentioning, that you can create a virtual ecosystem, they actually did that by using this door. If you were in their immersive setup and you clicked on this door, it would actually take you directly to their university campus. And that's how they were able to interconnect a lot of different worlds. This is actually a very interesting use case of frame that is not directly related to delivery of curriculum. This is, of course, available on the website. I'll be happy to link you to this. Similar to this, there's a few other use cases that I actually wanted to run through. There's hackathons. Once again, similar to the student competitions, you have the ability to host live hackathons inside of frame. This was actually not done under university. This is an external team, but they were able to host a lot of different teams over 3 days and host a student competition or host a competition with of course speakers as well. They had external speakers come in and deliver sessions, and of course they had a showcase frame as well. A few other events. Now, this is an example of how a live immersive experience was actually converted into a perpetual setup. There was a live delivery of this session that happened in Frame, and later on, after this event was over, the YouTube videos of this particular the event that happened in that immersive world was linked. So if 5 days after the event, someone wanted to come and listen to the session, they were able to do that inside this space. Another interesting use case outside of delivery is the ability to host walkthroughs and pre-admission events. Because we can bring in 360 images or 360 content into immersive world, you are able to host walkthroughs for high school students or their parents as well, and then use that. This is actually, yeah, two examples that were able to bring in. This is a space that had a different environment for where they just spoke about the curriculum, and then a different environment where they just spoke about faculty projects and also had independent walkthroughs. So these different use cases go to show. Oh, yeah, this is actually also a university showcase wherein a department was. This is an actual physical department of a university that was brought into Frame. So this is another it is a live delivery use case as well, because this classroom right here is used quite a lot for live curriculum delivery. But this also started as a simple student showcase setup. All right, that's broadly all the use cases that I wanted to cover. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about these use cases is because a lot of times when you're talking about immersive content, and when we're talking about immersiveness of this new world that we're building, I think we should not limit ourselves to just think about live curriculum delivery, because that has a lot of value. There's the ability to host a lot of content, and the ability to create these perpetual classrooms has a lot of value. But there's also a vertical of how overall education and as an industry can make the most of this new immersive world that we're stepping into. That's broadly all from my end. I hope this was helpful to understand just the breadth of what is possible within the overall industry. Thank you. Thank you all.